Hi friends, it's Sunday, April 11th, 2021. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many search for truth rules already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And we do acknowledge that it's up to the souls whether or not they choose to abide by those rules, but the assignments to the host lives are still to abide by those rules. And if we're not abiding by those rules, then law of attraction will bring us souls who are also not abiding by those rules. So it really behooves us to do our best to live by the rules all the time, not just when filming, which is part of the assignment. And so each of us has a life that is chock full of our assignments that are in accordance with our soul plan, and also following the individual moment by moment instructions from the voices above. And the trick in this era is to listen to the voices that we're supposed to listen to while ignoring the screaming cacophony of astral fakers who are just outright trying to exploit situations for their own personal benefit. And it's no different than humans that like you guys I'm sure know humans who are just in it for themselves, and their continual background running inquiry is, what is the easiest possible way to resolve this immediate situation so that it accrues to my personal benefit and that I look good? And that's how they go through life, and I'm sure you guys know people like this. And to consider that when we die, as is inevitable in this era of no upward flow, those dead people are hanging around shouting at the people who are in denser lives. So it's no different. Those same nasty people that you were looking forward to them being dead, they're still bothering you today. And that's the reality. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And the point is that we each have assignments. Everybody has a key component of the soul plan, and everybody who's on planet Earth has the soul, and who's still breathing has the assignment to stop the destruction that's occurring at humanity's hands, and to stop that destruction now. And it's occurring at humanity's hands using tools sent in by the spirit world, because humanity by and large, we're not all that bright. We as a species are not smart enough to be left in charge of anything, much less a planet. And we're proving that day by day, because we're continuing to destroy, even as the evidence mounts that this is long past time to stop the destruction. And we're not stopping it. And so the interesting thing this morning is, in attempting to discern what are we supposed to be filming about, it seems it's possible the filming inquiry is, how are denser lives supposed to figure out what voices to listen to? And in this era where it's almost as if there's no upward flow, and if souls above aren't ready to say there's no upward flow, that's fine, but it's almost as if there's no upward flow. And so how are we supposed to discern what voices to listen to, especially given that experiment of testing all the roughly 500,000 hotshot souls who were all the willing souls, all souls willing to come into this region of space and time, and not a single one was able to tell which way was up. They dropped the souls in, and there's a 100% fail rate. The souls are supposed to be dropped in, point to whatever direction they think is up, and the theory was that maybe 80% of them would be correct, but it was a 100% fail rate. And 100% fail rate, which means that if the 500,000 hotshot souls can't tell which way is up, and humanity, everybody upstairs agrees humanity is much stupider than they are upstairs, and we're not arguing with that, definitely not at all. but humanity is stupider, and those hotshot souls couldn't tell which way is up. Humanity doesn't stand a chance.
No, that's right.
And for the most part, people aren't even trying. So how are we supposed to determine which voices to listen to? And not just these two, we mean humanity at large. We're really actually curious about that. So how is humanity supposed to determine which voices to listen to? Oh, that's clearing.
Very clearing.
How is humanity supposed to determine which voices to listen to? And they're talking about this example of this morning where we had a big storm blow through here overnight, and it damaged some of our farm canopy area.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's consensus that that canopy all needs to come down, and then the argument upstairs was we don't think it's been resolved yet. It's been ongoing for several hours about what to do after the damaged canopy comes down. Do we attempt to rebuild it? Do we rebuild it the same? Do we rebuild it differently? Do we hire somebody to rebuild it? Do we rebuild it ourselves? The consensus seems to be we would hire somebody, but most people aren't willing to do what we're willing to do. And so we said, all right, well, we're never going to find somebody who's willing to do what you're saying to do. They will say, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. Especially if it's women asking men to do things. They are disrespectful to women, which is fine. It's the reality. So that's not a workable plan. That we won't find anybody to do that other than ourselves. And the instructions from above are absolutely not. The souls are not willing to participate in actually being the hands to do that job. So we therefore have to hire somebody, and then again it just devolves into just like screaming arguments, and it feels like people throwing furniture.
That's what it feels like.
And so the challenging thing is we have a planet where humanity is rapidly wrapping up, destroying the forests that remain, and paving everything that they can get their hands on. And if we can't decide what to do with a chicken yard canopy, it's not looking good for stopping the destruction on a large scale. And now, which way is up? And I'm not trying to be nasty, and I know that we have no legal standing, and that we're really too stupid as a species, as a collective. Humanity is too stupid to be left in charge of things, and that's why we're saying, okay, well, what should we do with this canopy? And then we can get a clear answer of what to do with the canopy that matches the reality of the available options.
Yeah, that's right.
And the feeling is that wiser minds above want there to be options that don't exist, which we do also. You know what they're talking about? Yesterday we were doing a search for a place to get some knives sharpened. We have knives that are dull, and they're left-handed serrated knives, so it's a little bit difficult to find somebody who knows how to sharpen left-handed serrated knives. And most people don't even know there is such a thing as a left-handed knife. And most people are right-handed, so
exactly
they are unaware of the realities of left-handedness. So we're trying to find somebody to sharpen left-handed serrated knives, and there's two places that are within an hour's drive, each of them. There were more places that were outside of an hour's drive. And so we say, all right, well, how do I get to this address? Google it, and the responses don't start with our actual location. And the responses, it's kind of like when you're using your GPS and the GPS says proceed to the highlighted route and the route guidance will begin. It's that same situation, except there's no reasonable way to get to where they were saying to start. Like we would have to go over the lake, through the woods, through several fences, through
other people's farms.
Other people's farms. There's no road. and that's the guidance that's being given. And we think that that's a good metaphor for what's happening now, because there's interdimensional miscommunications, and the powers that be who are coming in are expecting things to be different than they are. And when we say, all right, well, first things first, there's no upward flow, they say, oh, that's impossible. And so sometimes we do a little demo. We say, okay, well, let me stop pumping artificially to create artificial upward flow and see what happens. And then they say, start that again, start that. And they get very upset. It's like, well, look, there's no upward flow. Can you see it? And I don't hear people who are willing to acknowledge.
No, I don't feel any feeling of willing to think about that.
Mm-hmm. It's okay, darling. How are people in denser lives supposed to know what voices to listen to? We're really curious. The common discussion in humanoids of this density, the common discussion is that if it feels good, do it. If it's easy, it's what you're supposed to do, which is ridiculous in an era of destroying all life on Earth at humanity's hands. That doesn't even make any sense.
Right?
Anyone with good reasoning skills would be able to tell that that's an incorrect answer, proving again the point that humans are not smart enough as a collective to be left in charge of anything.
That's right.
Which is really unfortunate, because only 4% of mammals are wild, and the migrating landmarks are being wiped out.
That's right.
Imagine you're a migratory species, a bird, and the landmarks that you left have been knocked down while you were in the other place, going back home, and the forest is gone that you used to use as a landmark. Get to that forest and veer left, and the forest isn't there, and so they don't veer left, and then they're in unfamiliar territory. It's like, wait, what happened? What happened? They're talking about a chart that we saw on Arctic News, blogspot.com, which might or might not be the correct name of that website, but they were showing a NASA generated chart, or a chart that was generated based on NASA data that was showing the temperature rise, but the chart began in 1880. And the agreed upon baseline is the pre-industrial levels of carbon output, which are 1700. So that chart belongs 180 years in a different place. Like it's starting 180 years too late in the tracking. Right. And when you actually employ the agreed upon baseline, we're already over 2 degrees centigrade in heating already. So the common discussion is fudged.
That's the word.
The numbers are fudged. And now what? See, everybody's still looking for a loophole, and we're just pretending that we can say whatever we want, and that somehow physics will comply to our wishes. Now they're talking about the muons.
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, physics experiments working with muons, which are, I think, a negatively charged, magnetically charged particle, so they can give you signals of things that we can't measure otherwise, and the muons are not behaving according to theory, showing quite clearly that the theory is
theories are wrong.
incorrect.
Yeah.
And physics majors are literally saying that the muons are misbehaving. That people are using those words. That's so absurd. They're arguing with physics now. What now? How are we supposed to tell what voices to listen to? Is this accomplishing anything?
You know what this feels like?
What?
Like the people who are running the experiments in physics who are saying the muons aren't following the rules. It feels like the people upstairs who are saying there has to be upward flow. It's not possible for a world to exist without an upward flow of energy. It would cease to exist. And it feels very similar, those two feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I've been thinking that I make up what reality is, but reality is what reality is.
Mm-hmm.
And I could adjust my theories to be based on reality or not.
Mm-hmm.
And what I choose to do about reality says more about me than about reality.
Well put. Yes. Reality is what reality is. Ra used to say life hands us what it hands us. The choices we make on how to relate to what it hands us create our experience of sentience. And so what life is handing us is a pocket of reality in which there is no upward flow. And many souls have speculated that that's because we're inside of a black hole that seems to have been formed with the heaviness, the denseness of corruption. And therefore, the laws of physics that apply outside the black hole do not apply inside the black hole. And if we are interested in what life is like inside a black hole, then it's helpful to let go of the idea that it's the same inside and outside the black hole. That wouldn't even really make sense.
Exactly.
Because there's a sharp line. There's an event horizon through which light can't even pass.
That's right.
So maybe consider how wonderful it is to be able to get a glimpse of life inside a black hole, and there's no upward flow in here. And there's also karma delayed until after death for all but the best of the best. And the best of the best are asking for their karma, and their guardian angels are doing the significant amount of work required to get their karma assessed and delivered real time or approaching real time.
That's right.
But for everybody else, they're not getting any feedback. So it's like having a puppy that's not house trained, and to give the puppy the assignment to not pee in the house, but not give any feedback after birth.
That's right.
And then just wait until the puppy dies, and then I guess, I'm not sure what you would do with the puppy.
Because he still hasn't learned all the lessons he was supposed to learn about not being in the house.
No, he hasn't learned it, nor did he get any feedback.
No.
In this metaphor. This puppy knows. Now what?
Now what?